The weight of the unfinished. In psychology, this is the phenomenon where our brains remember unfinished or interrupted tasks much more vividly than the ones we've completed. It was first observed in a busy cafe where a researcher noticed that waiters had a near photographic memory of every unpaid order, every detail of every drink and every plate. But the moment the bill was settled, the memory vanished. The file in their mind was closed, and the brain, in its efficiency, deleted the data to make room for the next task. But for the deeply observant, for those of us who grew up reading the room to stay safe, the Zeigarnik effect doesn't just apply to coffee orders. It applies to our souls. It is the reason you can't forget the look on someone's face from years ago when a conversation ended in a misunderstanding. It is why you can have 1,000 successful days, but the one project that got canceled halfway through is the one that haunts your internal monologue. Your brain is a meticulous, tireless file clerk that refuses to go home until every folder is shut. And because life rarely gives us the closure we crave, we walk around with thousands of open files humming in the background of our consciousness, the perpetual audit. When the world goes quiet and there are no more external rooms to read, the watcher inside you turns its piercing, textured light inward. It begins its nightly audit. It isn't just overthinking. It is your nervous system trying to finish the unfinishable. You replay the conversation you had at noon, trying to find the perfect sentence you didn't say. You analyze a micro shift in a friend's tone, trying to solve the puzzle of their hidden mood so you can finally settle the bill and rest. But because the other person isn't there to provide the answer, the file stays open. The tension remains. Without realizing it, this loop began very early. Think back to that 7-year-old child, the one staring into the eyes of a parent who was falling apart. Maybe it was addiction, anger, or just a hollow silence. In that moment, that child was handed an impossible task. Fix this. Make them okay. Ensure the house stays quiet. A child can never truly finish the task of regulating an adult's emotions. It is a project that is, by definition, interrupted and incomplete. Because you couldn't solve the instability or finish the job of being the protector, the file stayed open. It became a permanent loop in your operating system. Now, as an adult, your brain identifies any tension, any silence, or any unresolved conflict as a life or death unfinished task. You don't just feel uncomfortable with a lack of closure. You feel unsafe. This is the dark side of being deeply observant. You see the gaps. You see the things that are left unsaid. You see the fracture in a relationship before the other person even knows they're holding a hammer. And because you see the unfinished so clearly, the Zeigarnik effect keeps you tethered to it. You become a prisoner of the what if and the if only. You may find yourself in high-functioning loops of achievement. The scanner. You finish a massive project, but instead of feeling the warmth of completion, you immediately scan for the next problem. The fixer. You can't feel the doneness of your life because your nervous system is trained only to value the not yet. The architect. You are always building, but never allowed to live in the house. You are always watching the cracks, always waiting for the next interruption. Closing the files. So, how do we stop the loop? The first step isn't to fix the past or force an apology from someone who is incapable of giving it. The first step is witnessing. It is looking at that half-painted portrait of your life and saying, it's okay that this isn't finished. Healing is the process of manually closing the files that the world left open. It is a form of shadow work where you go back to that 7-year-old and say, the job you were given was impossible. You didn't fail. The task was simply never yours to finish. When you validate the unfinished nature of your childhood, the Zeigarnik effect loses its grip. You start to realize you don't need a perfect ending to have a peaceful present. You can't change the script of the past, but you can stop the replay. You can choose to leave the cafe and let the unpaid orders stay unpaid. The strength of the witness. This is brutal work. It asks you to sit with the incomplete. It asks you to tolerate the silence and the messy edges of a life that doesn't always make sense. But in that tolerance, you find a new kind of strength. Not the strength of the watcher who is always on guard, but the strength of the witness who is finally at rest. You never had a childhood, but you still have a future. And this time, you don't have to be the one who holds everything together. You can be the one who lets it be. You can choose softness. You can choose to rest. You can choose to stop managing the gaps and start living in the space. And no, it won't happen overnight. There will be nights when the audit begins again. When that happens, don't judge the watcher. Just gently remind them the bill is settled. The performance is over. We are allowed to sleep now. The deeply observant mind is a gift, but it shouldn't be a prison. You didn't choose to see the gaps, but you can choose how you fill them. Not with more performance, but with the quiet, profound acceptance of yourself. For a moment, the audit stops. For a moment, the files are closed. There is just you here in the stillness. And for now, that is enough.